morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the third day of World Lumen Congress 2021, an anniversary Congress. This Congress holds this year its second edition, but Lumen Publishing House and the Lumen Association and everything that Lumen is about actually is 20 years old, and this is an anniversary year for us. Therefore, we are very happy to welcome you to this third day of Congress. Starting with the first plenary of the day, we have two great speakers for today, which I welcome. And I am deeply honored to present to you Dr. Arup Barman from Germany, and the Consortium Euro-American from Azam University, India, with a speech entitled Predictions on Learning Skills and Human Resource Development, Examining the Cross Currents and Contradictions. And then we have Associate Professor PhD Cecile Tashtan from Marmara University, Turkey, Social Justice and Social Correctedness, Identifying the Links with Psychological Distress. This is the title of her speech. Both of the two plenary speakers that will shortly begin to present their papers have been with us for a long time. We know Dr. Barman for a few years now, and he has published with us. He is in the board of reviewers, and it's always a pleasure to have him with us. Also, Dr. Tashtan has been present in many of our conferences during years and years, one of our most dear authors, and we are always happy to have her. They are both extremely enthusiastic speakers and always have something interesting to say, and I am sure that these plenaries will be a scientific treat. Therefore, according to the program, please let me give the speech to Dr. Arup Barman from India. Dr. Barman, please.
Yes, it's welcoming as well as my first sister as a greetings to everyone present here in this World Lumen Congress. Let me tell about the background of this association, because I am associating with this Lumen Congress, Lumen as a Lumen Publishing from 2013 with the activity of the Asian century we have, but ultimately because of our you understand that geopolitical all this crisis, I think I could not write it, but that is the problem of the Asian issues. But still, I am maintaining the good relationship along with the Lumen Publishing House in the middle. That is the journal, one of the journal of the Lumen House. Really, I found so much interesting. That is the postmodern opening, and that is actually I am from business management background, and the postmodern opening and the multi-dimensional that particular educational journal is really wonderful. Now in India, it is much more popular because now people are citing. I have seen that the yesterday while that particular journal I look it, then I think the 14 to 17 Indian scholars in a day they are hitting it. Now this is like this popularity has come, and with this only I would like to tell that it's really interesting. And the World Lumen Congress, the 122 pages, this total agenda for the attending the seminar is really great. But my paper, while I come, there is a really the issue which I am feeling at the moment of pandemic is that the educations, even though I am from the management, again, I like to tell that management cannot be separate from the learning only, because learning is everything. Learning is everything, and today it is everything. That's fine. We have not, my human community, we could not realize, but at the same time, human community must have to realize that learning will be everything, and near future the no knowledge, because of the knowledge we have done the blunder. We have done the blunder, or at the same time human community made the blunder, and at the same time half understood knowledge created the human havoc, world havoc, and ultimately the next stage we have already come, that is the space of the wisdom. And that's the reason why to bring about the wisdom, we must have to think in terms of the educations and the learning and the skills from the perspective of the business, from the perspective of the general as a whole, not the business or the work, but as a whole for the life itself, is very much essential. And that is the reason why I would like to share some of the thoughts, because it's a long paper. As I, at this platform, I would like to request that as I last initiative for the Asian century, that particular book I failed, I request that if this particular article, I am writing article, but with the another 3-4 dimension, if I edit, there will be one book, and this book will be given to the Anna Frunza, and my friend Antonio Sandhu, Dr. Sandhu will perhaps go for a small booklet for the purpose of thinking about the 360-degree education in the last moment. That is the model we are going to propose, 360-degree education for the humanities as a whole in the world. And this is this ultimately last moment I may think of. Okay, now let me allow me to present my paper on the that is what I am going to now say. Actually, the screen has not come because of the power is being very services that. Let us listen to the screen. I cannot share to you, but let me summarize the view that is. I have taught on the educations that is on prediction on learning and like skills. And at the same time, the human development, there is the explaining the cost and the contradiction. Now, let me put this particular idea where from this has come. I am intrigued by the sentence that the future learning will be everything and nothing like and nothing like the learning is today. Learning will be everything, but nothing like the learning is today. That means that today's learning will not be there. Something different learning will come. And that is given by the Henny C, quoted by that is this in 2016. That means the learning of today is different, and ultimately future of the learning will be again everything. So that is really interesting phenomenon from both the side. While you see about the both the aspect, future will be learning is everything, and in the future there is nothing like the today's learning. This what is that then? Okay, again, if we tell about this particular issue, then let us understand about the future. That is the future of learning will be everything having its philosophical root. It's a philosophical root, and future learning will be nothing like the learning of today. Then again, how it would be something like the future of another philosophical root. So then what are those undercurrent in the midst of the learning is everything and learning will be nothing like today? What is the undercurrent? Now, if we go to the aspects of this one, then let us understand that in the middle of the both the words in 2016, then after that we are telling that future of the education will be something different and learning will be something different. Then what has intervened is the corona pandemic, that is the cards for education, cards for the human learning, and ultimately loss of the entire the learning loss. The learning loss, while you calculate it for the class 7, 6 onwards, these children's, just you imagine the loss, and this loss will be how much loss for the future that we have to multiply. We have to see, we have to examine, we have to thought of. Okay, before the pandemic, learning skills and the knowledge was ruled by so many again predictions. Yeah, for this one, before the pandemic, even in 2016, before that, every where there is only the pandemic issues. There is before the pandemic, there was a prediction ruled the educational system, and the predictions actually before the chaotic concept also. Prediction before the chaos, there was something, and after the chaos, there was something. And during the chaos, there is something. So this is really interesting. Somebody is telling, okay, there will be no school, no university will remain. The reason is that university does not require because the already technological innovations and online will have proved it. So ultimately, very big higher education. Even Harvard is now thinking, these top class universities are also thinking that we should not have this 2 years course, long course. That's really interesting. 2 years long, a long course is not necessary, and the students and the learners should not come to the platform. So like that. So there is a controversy. One side again, we are telling that education will be everything. Education will be everything, but the structure is not there. The structure is destructed. Destructive structure has been happening, and people are now reluctant to even enter. As I am working in the Indian system of the university system, and here also what we have seen that in the middle we want to open, but the students are reluctant to enter to the hall and houses. So that become a really how where from the prediction comes. All the predictions were telling about something to learn. This is the learning means ultimately, but the predictions were only emphasizing on the skills, on the aspect of the various aspect of the skills. But the thing is that while you take into account of the corona pandemic or the distractions together, then the skills does not matter. Skills is somewhere. Then again, in the middle of the bringing of the skills, again, some other learning is normally more given emphasized much more. So what is this now the broad aim of this particular paper? Let me summarize. Again, the aim of the paper was basically to examine the and the same predictive narrations on the learning and the skills and the human resource development, referring to the pre and the post-COVID situations. And the objectives of the paper basically is to develop the critical narration on the pre-COVID-19 predictions on learning skills and human resource development, and to examine and narrate the predictions during the pandemic time is the second objectives. And third time is that to examine the contradictions of the prediction between the current and the cross-current thoughts as a consequential impact of the pandemic. The third objective of paper. And the fourth objectives I have kept it to develop a model in case the holistic HRD to fill up the gaps discovered from the analysis and the analysis of the basically contradictions on the predictive narratives basically. Now, come down. Let us begin with this the particular objectives. While you see this one, the day, yeah, we got already. I see in summary form that there is a two current learning will be nothing like today, and learning is everything. Yeah, again we are repeating it, and how we are getting it now. The learning will be nothing like today. By the sentence we can refute, or we can corroborate. Simply the tectonic shift in the society and the business. Tectonic shift in the society and business. The reason is that it occurs when unexpected events forces the widespread experimentation around the new ideas that is happening, tectonic shift. And at the same time, by 2022, the people are predicting again over the 44% of the educational market. Educational market will be likely to be driven by the e-learning, and the e-learning can be expected to have large share of the global educational market. That is, the e-learning issues is coming by the 2022, but that is predicted in the 2016. That means the pre-pandemic situations. People are telling on that one, but in the middle of there is the disruptions. Again, within the disruptions, what is happening? There is another current entered that because of the disruptions, people are again that earlier predictions is refuted by something other else. Okay, now the future of the educations will be e-learning, which is predicted through this again the machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the future of the e-learning. E-learning will be the again there we have another future of the e-learning that has entered. So like this way, what we can find that one after another, because of the corona pandemics, once it is predicted, following through the educational rules and regulations or the policies or the for the purpose of the development, they are looking at. But at the same time, another new issues are coming because of this pandemic and the disruptions. That the new type of the predictions is coming. And then within the prediction, one sentence, if we take it, then another sentence we have to feel, we have to understand that if there is a education is everything, that means the education is a life. Again, education is nothing like today, but that means that education having that something future will be happening. So there is really a controversy. If we think very, very minutely, then we can find it out so many issues together. Yeah. There's this in the Govinda Rajan and the Srivastava, he was written one article, and in that particular article, that is in the 2020 during the pandemic time, and they were emphasizing on the learning of the learning will be much more commoditized type of things because of this corona e-learning, etc. Commoditized means we can buy it in the market. Yes, this is now at a very low price also we can buy a good certificate from the very good reputed university, and that at the same time he's emphasizing in the Harvard system that there should be hybrid learning. Okay, some portions he has to learn continuous
Dr.
learning.
Barman, I am sorry. You have 1 more minute left of your speech. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Another 2 minutes may come down.
2 minutes? Yes, yes.
Yeah. So they like this way. The another very focused words is coming in the basically in the forecasting or the prediction is that continuous learning, collaboration, problem solving, product management, communication, storytelling, like these types of things, which are not connecting again. Sometimes it has been spread, and sometimes it is much more concentrated view. So the physical and the manual and the basic cognition and the cognitive issues are also incorporated, and where what to learn, that becomes a very, very difficult by the predictive type of the report. So the next is that the people are emphasizing much more on that issues that the OECD's report while you see and the prediction up to the 2030, then we'll find another set of the predictions, which is emphasizing much more on cognitive, metacognitive, and the social, emotional, practical, physical. All these are the components they have incorporated. And within their OECD, they are having a learning compass that is given for this one. But at the same time, the other report will tell only technological side. And from the technological side only, people tell, okay, there is a some educations, some education learning, and it's need to be emphasized. Now, where to emphasize? Basically, yes. Now the question is that if I see that we are emphasizing on these skill issues, then ultimately e-learning, suppose if you take into the e-learning will rule or dominate the future world. Fine. Learning, that is the, we have to see about the, within the e-learning, there should be self-learning. That what to learn now? Whether e-learning or the self-learning. We have to generate, and at the same time the catering individual learners need, we have to see the bigger data analytics issues, and at the same time we should have to see for the purpose of ourselves or for our own. Then another is that the artificial intelligence tutor will be there, and at the same time where our tutor and teacher will go, that means another havoc, is it not? And the augmented virtual reality, mixed reality will take place, and in that particular place, if that is there, then the what our in that particular place, actually the unexperienced, and may not be they are professionally teachers, and but the somebody will come and deliver the teachers. Those who are non-professional teachers will become professional teachers at the cheaper rate. So that become a very, very difficult proposition for the humanities as a whole for learning and at the educational systems. And there are, and again, more predictions is coming, and I would do not like to, as the full paper will be present, given to this one. Later, I think that it will be serve the purpose. But there are many forecasting within the 2021, just now it is coming, suppose the continuous monumental adaptation of the virtual learning, that is one, this is emphasized. A greater need for the trainer is emphasized, and content curation or the creation of the tool, that is also another emphasis has been taken, and the performance supports matters is now taking into the, again, in the electronic systems. The mobile learnings, mobile is the first, not the computer, is the now another type of the trend has come now at this moment. And the same thing, data and richer data and the data driven decisions are coming in the form of the learning and the even for the self-learning. Now really it is a blurred situations for the case of the educations. Now what is happening now in this case? Now without the learning,
Dr. Barman, please try to conclude. We would very much like to hear, to be able to hear Dr. Tashtan's speech, and already the time for discussions is up. Yeah. So let's conclude and move on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Next, let's listen to the speech of Dr. Tashtan, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Huedo. It is nice to listen the speech of Professor Barman. And it is my honor to participate in this special event. Firstly, I want to thank the organizing committee of this conference. I appreciate their great efforts. Now I want to share my presentation with you also. Let me the screen share, please.
Yes, please start sharing, and I think we can override the share screen of Dr. Barman. Just, okay, it works. Okay, we can see it, yes.
Thank you so much. My presentation is related with analyzing the psychological distress of individuals in working life and its connections with social justice and perceived social connectedness. Firstly, I have to say that there is no doubt that people in working life have highly feeling psychological distress, especially in the period of pandemics. In the literature, we can also see that the psychosocial factors in work life affect employees' physical and psychological health, and mostly the interrelations between the employees and their work conditions have significant impacts on their psychological well-being. And there is not enough evidence about the linkages of perceived social justice and social connectedness with employees' perceived psychological distress. Therefore, based on the theories of organizational psychology, approach of positive organizational behavior, and social justice theory, we try to apply all these theories to workplace perceived psychological distress and their relationship with perceived justice and also social connectedness. And we applied an empirical study in Turkey in order to see the relations among the study variables. Firstly, we have to look at how the psychological distress is defined. Psychological distress is the symptom of stress, depression, and anxiety. And when a person feels psychological distress, it means that the person has difficulty to cope with the stressful events and loses the emotional control and it exceeds the psychological emotions and psychological resources of the person. Therefore, the person can also lose the ability to cope with the stressful conditions. And it's a kind of suffering. And no doubt, especially in work life and also in the pandemic period, people's psychological distress has arisen. And also the life conditions are really difficult. And when combined with the workplace affective events, such as interrelations and also justice perception, the level of psychological distress may arise. Psychological distress is also applicable in business organization based on ecological theory, because when we consider the basic ecology of the employees, we can see the personal interactions between the workers and other managers. And also the fairness perception in the workplace is important. It can determine how people feel at work. Therefore, creating a positive work environment with socially connected people and also the positive perception related with justice environment may have positive influences on employees' well-being. However, thinking as the opposite way, when there is unfair work conditions and when there is less social connectedness in the workplace, then people's psychological distress will be higher and their well-being will be influenced negatively. So we assumed that social connectedness can be one of the indicators of perceived psychological distress. How to define social connectedness? It's a kind of social belonging at work. People have a need to belong to others, and people have a basic need of having social interrelationship with the other people. And it's a kind of human need, as Maslow also indicated. And according to a positive psychology approach, positive social connectedness and feeling of social belonging have positive work outcomes, such as well-being, job performance, organizational commitment, and job satisfaction. However, when there is not enough social connectedness and when there is a problem of feeling lonely, it has some negative influences on depression, maybe isolation, maybe alienation, and also it lowers the self-esteem of people and may increase the anxiety and stress level of the people at work. Therefore, when we consider the ecological model of social connectedness, again, we can suggest that the perceived social connectedness and belonging feeling may impact psychological distress of individuals. Therefore, we hypothesized this suggestion as perceived social connectedness at work has negative relationship with perceived psychological distress. The second independent variable of our research model is social justice. As we know, social justice is derived from political sciences and sociological sciences. However, this concept is also applicable in organizational sciences because just organizational justice and perception of fairness at work is the determinant factor of organizational and individual attitudes and job outcomes. Therefore, the question is how people feel social justice at work. Are they treated fairly? Can they easily access the equal resources? And do they feel a support for their human rights? And is there a fair allocation of community resources in the organization? Altogether, these are the indicators of social justice, which may have impacts on employee outcomes. Therefore, our second hypothesis emerged. And in order to test the hypotheses, we applied a research in Turkey. 6 months, this research took 6 months and 205 employees participated in the research process. These employees were working in both public and private organizations. Mostly female workers participated, and the majority of the sample group had bachelor degree, and their work experience was between 10 to 20. We used 3 instruments in order to measure the study variables, and totally 32 items included in the research questionnaire. As a result of the survey, the findings were evaluated through validity and reliability analysis. We applied exploratory factor analysis in order to see the validity and reliability of the scales. Then we applied correlational and regression analysis in order to see the relations among the study variables. The summary statistics of the survey showed that the mean of psychological distress was relatively high among the participants. And this is really showing an evidence that people in working life have high distress. When we look at the mean value of perceived justice, it is in the moderate level. So it is obvious that the perceived social justice at work is in the moderate level, but not in the high level. When we look at the social connectedness perception, clearly it seems that it is again in the moderate level. So what we normally expect from working life, we expect social connectedness should be higher, but it seems that it is in the moderate level. When compared to social connectedness and social justice, it seems that psychological distress has the higher level. So again, it is the indicator of high stress in individuals. When we look at the results of correlational analysis, we can see that the social justice has negative and moderate relationship with distress. Again, social connectedness has negative and moderate level relationship with psychological distress. Therefore, our hypotheses are supported because we found support that social connectedness and social justice both have negative influence on psychological distress. So in short, we can say that the higher the social connectedness, the lower the psychological distress. But when there is a low psychological, when there is low social connectedness and justice, there is again higher psychological distress among individuals. In order to see how connectedness and justice explain psychological distress, we applied regression analysis, and we saw that social connectedness explained 39% of the variance in psychological distress. It seems that there is a high explanatory power. When we look at social justice, we saw that it explains 42% of perceived psychological distress. Again, it is the indicator that social justice has greater explanatory power over psychological distress. Therefore, we can suggest that in the workplace, we should increase social connectedness and social justice in order to reduce psychological distress and perhaps to increase perceived well-being among individuals. So when we come to conclusion, we saw that the magnitude level of psychological distress among participants is really high, and it can be linked to the condition of pandemics or other socioeconomic problems arised in the workplaces and social life, and there can be other workplace issues affecting psychological distress, of course. But when we consider ecological model, we can support that the ecology of the employees is very important in predicting their psychological well-being and stress level. Therefore, the ecology of workers in the organization is composed of interrelations with people and their justice environment. And treatment of fairness is really important in indicating psychological well-being. Therefore, what we can recommend for organizational decision makers or managers, we recommend that they should give importance to increase social connectedness and identification and feeling of belonging among individuals. Because the higher the social belonging and connectedness, there will be a higher coping mechanism for individuals with psychological distress. And what we recommend, secondly, is that the organizational decision makers and managers should give importance to increase fairness at work, and social justice should be given more importance in order to create a better quality of work life and to decrease the level of psychological distress of people. What we suggest for further research is the further research should be applied in wider research samples in order to generalize the findings. And maybe other demographic characteristics can be included in the research model in order to see the main effects of the demographic characteristics on the relationships between the variables. And further research can use multiple report system, multiple sourcing system in order to evaluate the views of both managers and employees. Therefore, in the further studies, new variables such as demographic characteristics can be added to the model, and also multiple sourcing technique can be used. And wider research samples can be surveyed in further studies. Thank you very much for your listening. And this was my speech and evaluation of the results of my research study. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tashtan. It was a very, very instructive speech, and we liked your research very much and the way it was conducted. Thank you for your conclusions. I am so happy I was able to have Dr. Barman and Dr. Tashtan during this plenary session here with us at World Women Congress. I'm sorry. Also, thank you very much for your kind words. I would like to extend my gratitude also to Dr. Barman and to Dr. Tashtan for their kind words regarding the journal Postmodern Openings. I am very happy to hear that the journal Postmodern Openings becomes more and more popular in India. And I know also about Turkey. I know thanks to Dr. Tashtan, who keeps us informed. As a managing editor of the journal Postmodern Openings, please let let me extend on behalf of the entire editing team, thanks to all the authors who have published in this journal, amongst which Dr. Barman and Dr. Tashtan are current authors. We are happy to receive you again for our second plenary session of the day at 11 o'clock a.m. Bucharest time. And please, if you have any questions or if you want to interact with Dr. Barman and Dr. Tashtan, because our time is up right now, unfortunately, please join us in the virtual desk and open space of the conference, where we can chat all day about all our common topics of interest, and we can socialize and make friends and connect to each other. And we hope that this will bring us closer together. You can find the link in the program of the conference on the site of the conference. So please join us in the open space. Thank you very much for attending. Have a great day. And I will be back with you at 11 o'clock with our second plenary session of the day.
Thank you very much, Professor Huide. It is my honor to participate in this special event. Hope to see you in next conferences again.